Hello and welcome to the Radical Podcast, inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root. We explore the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
This season is all about divination, tarot, and the power held within our intuition. This is The Radical with Nicole and Christina, the two metaphysical girls in the material world.
Hello, welcome to the Radical Podcast. This is Christina.
And I'm Nicole.
Today we're talking about the Gemini cards of 8, 9, and 10 of Swords. We've got that mutable end of season air energy all over the place in these cards.
I liked these cards, weirdly and surprisingly, so I'm excited to talk about them.
Yeah, we should just jump right in. We're going to get sidetracked, I suspect, with these mutable air cards. The card name is, these are the three cards in the Minor Arcana associated with Gemini. It's the in the suit of swords. And swords in tarot, as we remember, represent air, and air governs intellect, logic, communications, decision making. This is a big one in these three cards. They deal with also like mental conflict, anxiety, challenges, and inner strength. I read this phrase, acting as a double-edged sword, like 3 times in the different articles I was reading. So I was like, what exactly is the phrase double-edged sword mean? Okay, first tangent. I looked it up. Double-edged sword is an idiom describing a situation, action, or tool that has both positive and negative consequences. And we can see this theme running through these 3 cards. It carries significant risk along with significant benefits. That is the double edge of the sword. And that is kind of a very tarot swords theme, even in like the 2 of swords or the 3 of swords. But I feel like now there's more. In the 8, 9, and 10, there's just more swords. There's more possibilities. There's more choices. There's more actions.
I like what you have as part of that paragraph of notes, a benefit that is also a liability. And isn't that our capacity to think in a nutshell? Like, it's a benefit, but too much thinking is also a liability. And that is perfect for these 3 cards.
What is, analysis paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes we get, and that applies probably to the 9 of swords. Could be for all of these, but anyway, that's another one. Benefits that also have a liability. Moving on to the card number, it's Roman numeral 8 is VIII 8, and then just to make it especially confusing, 9 is IX, and then 10 is X. The modality and the element is mutable air. Zodiac sign, Gemini. Gemini season. These are the 3 cards for that mutable air end of the spring. Yeah, end of the spring season. For the planets, the 8 of swords is Jupiter in Gemini. 9 of swords, Mars in Gemini. And then the 10 of swords, Mercury in Gemini. This is the 3rd house ruled by Gemini. For the correspondences, the tree of life, the 8 of swords is ruled by the 8th sphere of Hod, the sphere of splendor. It can be the majesty and the mind, ruled by Mercury. The 9 of swords is the 9th sphere of Yesod, and that's the foundation. It could be also encompassing the unconscious mind and reflection. And this is ruled by the moon. The 10 of swords, the 10th sphere of Malkuth. We're at the bottom center of that tree of life. This is kingdom, and this is manifestation. This is experience. This is the physical reality we live in, and that is ruled by earth. For the chakra and the crystals, again, I put these together and just talking about us gathering information and using our third eye to decide what chakras and what crystals we associate. With the Eight of Swords, the key word here is restriction. This is an element of self-imposed restriction. And you want to think about a stone or reaching into a chakral energy that assists you in seeing through mental traps and seeing through mental barriers. We are the creators of our reality. What color and what energy is going to assist you in the freedom or the freeing of your thoughts? This is a self-imposed and perceived restrictions is how I feel primarily about this card. For crystals and chakras, it's for mental clarity and empowerment. I like the third eye for mental work, right? For mental work in that state, as far as like, and as soon as I said this, I was like, also, I just said our mind creates our reality. So there is also a touchstone of rooting deeply into your physical body might help. Sometimes you need to get out of your head, out of your thinking mind, and into your breathing and doing body. So third eye might resonate with you, but you might have a combination of other chakras that help you drop into a place where you can feel creative and feel freedom and loosen that restriction. I like, this just came to me and I don't really have a clear idea, but any stones with a rainbow or with like glowy, reflective, multiple color stones that can help us perceive that some things aren't always as clear cut as they are, that there is like a subtleness and there is that multiple ideas can be held together.
That's very Gemini.
That's a lot of words and a lot of ideas, but I didn't really tell you a crystal, did I? That's very Gemini. I like stones with multiple colors for that one. For the Nine of Swords, we have anxiety. What is going to assist you in facing your fears, seeking support, and to stop suffering in silence? For me, I have the throat chakra here for vocalizing, but also even if it isn't in your calling with this card to speak to another person, I think also you can sing, chant, mantras, mala beads, journal. I think there's an element of like opening the throat chakra and helping bring some of the anxiety of the mind maybe down into the heart and into the body. But the throat chakra being where it is and also being a place of purification, being a place of expression might help with that anxiety. And it's speaking your truth. It's communication and it's self-expression, but it's also, it doesn't have to be to another person. It can be reaching out to another person, having a conversation with another person, but also you might need to sit in a quiet space and just talk out loud to yourself or say mantras out loud to yourself just to get that energy moving. And for this one, I just have blue soothing stones. Just blue, something that is, it will calm, you can hold it in your hand and it just feels like the energy is soothing you and allowing you to be expressive and soothe that anxiety. Okay, Ten of Swords, endings. And I mean, on the flip side, beginnings, but really a lot about endings. And so what assists you in letting go or being okay with letting go or your relationship with letting go? For me, the chakra, I have the heart chakra, the bridge between the physical and the spiritual chakras. I mentioned this in the previous episode, The Lover, about the lower triangle and the upper triangle of chakra energy, and it rests and you want to balance it in the heart. We talk a lot about this is the card of endings and the card of closings of the end of the cycle. But even in this card, and we'll get to it in card comparison, each one has a little element of what's coming out of this situation that's going to bring in new life or bring in new possibilities or start the next cycle. Black tourmaline, I have a couple pieces of black tourmaline. It's one of my favorite really dark crystals, and I like it because it's a little shiny, so it's got, that dual element there. And it's black tourmaline is excellent for releasing. It absorbs negative energy and then it lets it go. It absorbs it and then it lets it go. And we can learn a lot from that, like, turnover of energy, that it's okay to let go because something will always come back through it. It's like that energy. Energy never dies. It's just transferred into another thing, or transmuted. Yes. Yeah. So those are just a quick rundown on some of the thoughts on these three. And once we get into card comparison, as you know, we start expounding. Is that a good word for expounding on more of these qualities when we get into the card comparison?
So the numbers of these three cards carry meaning. The 8 can symbolize patterns, behaviors, or routines. Maybe patterns in our thinking mind, patterns or behaviors that have that quality of self-imposed or perceived restrictions. The 9 can symbolize results, consequences, or intensity. We see a lot of intensity here, a consequence of overthinking and too much anxious energy in the mind. And the 10 can symbolize culmination, the maximum, and the energy of collapse, which is very apparent. So in terms of our decan chart, the Lord of Interference is the Hermetic title for the 8 of Swords. I like that word.
Interference. Well, yes, I guess it's self-imposed interference.
This is for the first Gemini decan, Gemini 1. The corresponding Major Arcana card based on the zodiac sign Gemini for all 3 of these cards is going to be the Lovers. And we'll dive into that a little bit more in just a moment. Jupiter rules this decan. Jupiter is in its detriment in Gemini. And because it's Jupiter, we have the influence of the Wheel of Fortune, which is interesting.
Yeah.
The 9 of Swords, the Lord of Cruelty for the second Gemini decan. This is Mars in Gemini. This is Mars in Gemini, so we can think about the Tower having an influence. The 10 of Swords is the Lord of Ruin for the third Gemini decan. This is Sun in Gemini. And of course, the Sun card is the corresponding planetary or celestial body arcana card. This is the end of the sword story. If we remember the 2, 3, and 4 of Swords, we talked about in that episode how this could be sort of a mini hero's journey or a story around knowledge and knowing. What is seen and known versus what is still unseen or unknown. In the 2 of Swords, we wonder, is there possibly something we do not yet know or cannot yet see? Or possibly a reference to using our third eye, our intuition, rather than our actual eyes when making a choice. And in this card, in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the figure is blindfolded. In the 3 of Swords, there is something new that we now know or see, and we will never be able to not know it or not see it. And it is probably piercing, as suggested by the 3 swords piercing a heart in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And then in the 4 of Swords, we see that rest and sleep are critical to our brain's functioning and to process and to detox and to archive information. So therefore, rest and sleep are also critical to our ability to know and to hold knowledge. And in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, this is suggested by the deep and protected state of rest in which we find the knight in that image. And these 3 cards are tied to Libra's justice card. So we can think about the jobs, as we have been doing, the jobs of justice. We don't always know, and we may not ever know, how justice and karma play out. It's kind of out of our hands and not really our business either. Karma is going to do what karma is going to do. The veil on the justice card in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck symbolizes that kind of hidden knowledge or the hidden forces at play. The 5, 6, and 7 of swords suggests a story about how we operate in the world and how we navigate our lives. In the 5, there's a sense of risk. We evaluate the cost of winning. What's at stake. In the 6 of swords, we embark on a journey. I think it's kind of a magical and alchemical journey because this is Mercury in Aquarius. So we, in that episode, talked about Mercury as the ferryman taking us across this body of water that we called the Aquarian firmament. The 7 of swords to me feels like an invitation and a warning. It feels like there's this continuum of self-interest that's being presented to us. It could be deception. It could be self-sabotage. There's sort of an array or degrees for us to consider. And these are the jobs of the star card. This is Aquarius, and we are thinking about our individuality and our authenticity in the context of how we operate within the collective and in regards to other people. And then we're here, the 8, 9, and 10 of swords, the story of possible mental short-circuiting that can happen when we have too many choices, too many thoughts, too much anxiety. These 3 cards can convey the imbalance of having too much of the air element. In the 8, we feel bound and restricted. Like Christina said, this does have a quality of it being self-imposed. And it is because we're swords, we're in air, it is within the mental and intellectual realm. From 36 Secrets, T. Susan Chang writes that the Lover's card is associated with Hebrew letter Zain, meaning sword. The Wheel of Fortune corresponds to Jupiter, the force of expansion. It is as if reality has been sliced into innumerable ones and zeros. So much choice can be paralyzing, as the 8 of Swords suggests.
There's such an element of modern day overstimulation in this card. In that quote you just read from T. Susan Chang about the ones and the zeros, and we think about a very modern affliction of overconsumption of media. And that is self-inflicted. That is you turning on your machine, looking at your screen, whatever it might be, and not putting it down and choosing to do something else. And sometimes you don't feel like you have a choice. Like you have to look at that, or you have to stay up to date or current. And some people have a real true issue with this.
Totally. In the 9 of Swords, we are up all night, whether literally or more metaphorically, with worry and woe. This is definitely like that mental churning and brainstorming that is very consuming. Again, from 36 Secrets, T. Susan Chang says the remedy for anxiety is not more control. That way lies madness, or at least despair and cruelty. That way lies the 9 of Swords. And in the 10 of Swords, we have maxed ourselves out. We have reached the maximum and collapse, literally. I mean, the dude is lying on the ground,
I know
collapsed under 10 swords.
I occasionally giggle. It is like the face is turned away. It's like it is very excessive in that card.
This is Sun in Gemini. So T. Susan Chang says if the Sun represents the rational and the Lovers represents the power of choice, their combination can be the kind of over intellectualized decision process that leads us to disregard our intuition. So these 3 cards are the jobs of Gemini's Lovers, the tarot card of choice. And the Lovers reminds us of the Hermetic principle, as within, so without. What's interesting is on some versions of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, if you look at the figure's hand gesture in the Ten of Swords, it is the same as the Hierophants.
Oh,
which conveys that same Hermetic principle.
It's the bridge between upper and lower. Or how oh my gosh, put it for the trivia book. The hand gesture of the character in the Ten of Swords.
It's a little hard to see on mine, but I think I looked at yours, Christina, and
I can see it
clear.
Yeah. How about these little, I never even noticed that.
Some decanical interpretations. 8 of Swords, Jupiter and Gemini, a detriment placement, the bifurcation of Gemini and the expansion of Jupiter. Those endless ones and zeros, like T. Susan Chang said. The 9 of Swords, Mars and Gemini, the scattered restlessness of Gemini, and the relentlessness and control of Mars. 10 of Swords, Sun in Gemini, the fragmentation of Gemini, and the total illumination of the Sun.
That's it. It all becomes clear. Starting with the 8 of Swords, the Spirit Song Tarot has this as the 8 of Feathers. The spirit animal is the mouse for courage and solutions. A group of mice is called a horde or a nest or a mischief. The mice are small and highly adaptive. The mouse as a spirit animal, it symbolizes scrutiny, attention to detail, and resourcefulness. It encourages focus on small, overlooked details to achieve big results. And then as a totem, it represents adaptability, stealth, and the ability to thrive by being patient, persistent, and this is the tiny but mighty, while navigating life's challenges. The energy of this animal might help you if you're feeling resistant to the 8 of Swords, or if you're having just kind of like how to not overcome it, but how to, what's the word I'm looking for? To deal with it. Maybe mouse energy. Maybe look up mouse energy or mouse spirit animal to help you with the 8 of Swords. I understand it because sometimes when we're looking at all the ones and zeros, we can't just focus on like little details, little things that we can do, little steps that we can make to start weeding through all of that information and all of that stimulus. For the wild unknown, the 8 of Swords, its keywords are trapped and powerless. And here we have a butterfly suspended, and it is a butterfly because you can see the butterfly wings. It's finished with its transformation, and it's ready to unfurl, but it's surrounded by swords. And the author asks in their guidebook, what keeps you suspended here? Yourself or others? It's a thought. It's, again, that self-imposed, that perceived lack of control, or that self-inflicted analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
For the Secrets of the Witch's Garden, 8 of Swords, keyword is restraint. And here we have a bound witch hovering over a pool of water with the 8 swords aligned. Some of them are stuck into the ground and one is hovering. The author writes in their guidebook, you alone must face your greatest change. Will you greet it willingly, call for help, or request guidance in advance? But to conquer inner demons and repetitive patterns, you must fix this. This is a call to action in that narrative. No, in that call to action theme in
Yes.
this card, in this deck. That's what I was going to say.
But if not you, who? Like, who else is going to fix this for you?
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is it really?
I like it. I like that they were so clear. You must fix this. And then finally, in the Sacred She Tarot, this is the 8 of Air. Keyword is blame. And they have a figure blurred behind sword-like bars, bars like a jail cell, and they kind of fade into white. Not, it could be like a clear point, but there is an element of jail here because also the figure's clothes is black and white. Like almost like a old school prisoner's uniform. Well, not even old school. That's today's prisoners are wearing black and white still. But the face is blurry, the black and white that is called blame, and it's obscured. You can't really see. And it's our words are creating this prison for ourselves. Our words or our actions are creating this. And also, the character is separate from me, from you, from us, on the other side of the bars, on the other side of this perceived difference. It does have like that separation and that jail-like prison restriction quality to it.
Blame is a very striking word.
And then
it gets your attention. Like, where am I placing the blame?
I know.
Whose fault
and
is this?
The character's fault? Are they to blame for this imposed separation and this imposed imprisonment or this imposed restriction?
So in my decks, Zodiac Tarot, in her guidebook, she writes that this card conveys an inner obstruction we cause ourselves. And we've definitely covered that theme so far of this self-imposed prison or restriction. The figure on this card is blindfolded and is in chains rather than the more sort of cloth-like, I guess, wrapping in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And the chains, to me, emphasize how compelling our thoughts are and how compelling our thoughts can feel. In the Antique Anatomy Tarot, this is the suit of blades, and we have 4 blades pointing downward and 4 blades pointing upward. And what came to mind for me is that, in a way, they kind of cancel each other out. So, with that said, overthinking rarely changes anything.
It's
it rarely
really
changes. Exactly. It rarely changes our external circumstances.
My gosh, that's so true.
It just keeps us stuck.
Out. Yeah. It's not productive at all.
It's not productive, but we probably end up feeling way worse off than we did before because we've spent all that mental energy brain churning and brainstorming. So we do all this, it gets us nowhere, and we feel worse for it. In the Lightseers deck, this imagery is so good. We have a mirror and a figure's reflection in the mirror. And in the mirror, she's blindfolded and bound by, I guess, like string. It's kind of like, it's much thinner than the cloth on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. We also see crows in the mirror's reflection. And the crows have the string like in their mouths and their beaks. And I wonder, are they binding her or trying to free her?
Mm.
Crows can represent the ability to see through illusions and perceive the underlying truth of the situation. So I kind of think they're trying to help her. And then if we zoom out and look at the scene beyond the mirror, we see the figure who's being reflected. And quote unquote, in reality, she is neither bound nor blindfolded. So this
Mm-hmm.
conveys that it's her perception as represented by the mirror that is trapped and stuck, which is in opposition to her actual real and present state. This card, I think, is showing us the power of our minds.
Yeah.
And in her guidebook, Chris Ann says, when you choose sovereignty over victimhood, you become the fierce wielder of choice. And in my notes, I put in parentheses, the lovers. She goes on to say, create infinite portals of possibility by becoming the solution. We are never really stuck.
Okay. Moving on to the Nine of Swords. In the Spirit Song Tarot, it's the Nine of Feathers. It's the porcupine. The keywords are perspective and self-empowerment. A group of porcupine is called a prickle. Young porcupines are called porcupets.
Hmm.
And they cannot throw their quills. They can't shoot them at you. I don't know if I believed that as a kid, or I felt like I had an understanding that they would move out of the animal, but they don't. You see sometimes dogs that have the quills stuck in their face or on their noses. It's because they stuck their nose into the quills. The porcupine as a spirit animal symbolizes balance between gentle vulnerability and firm boundary setting. And it acts as a protector. It has protective energy. And it urges you to trust life's journey. And the porcupines are curious while using self-defense to protect. It's like that emotional and spiritual well-being, reminding you that strength can be gentle. The author writes in their guidebook, a mentor for the vulnerable. He's here to show you how to protect yourself from your own painful thoughts. When anxieties are at their height, it feels as though things are at their worst. Step back and look at the big picture. Things are not as bad as they seem. Adjust your perspective and cast your sights into the future with optimism, knowing you're doing the best you can. Those words might help you. The porcupine spirit animal energy or spirit guide, you could tap into that energy if you're dealing with this card. In the wild unknown, it's the Nine of Swords. The keywords here are dark visions and anguish. And here we have 9 swords crossed into across a mass of organic material. It looks like a talon, eyes, and worms all connected together. I have a lot of feelings when I look at this card. And
it evokes fright for sure.
yes. Yeah, I don't know. We'll just leave it at that. In the Secrets of the Witch's Garden, the 9 of Swords, the keyword is ruminating. And here we have a young character. This looks like, and in the guidebook, the author says this is like a nap that has gone on too long. You went to go lay down and close your eyes and the sun was shining, and then you wake up and it's a sunset and there's like a cat hissing behind you. The bees have started to kind of come and pester you. And you can see it. To me, the scene is lovely. I'm not a fan of the bees pestering the character awake, and there's like a pair of eyes lurking through the tree trunks at the character. But all the swords are arrayed behind it, and you still get that feeling of not being able to sleep or being aroused from sleep by an external energy. In this case, it's the bees. In the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it's your ideas and your thoughts. But the bees are representing that buzzing, that buzzing energy, your buzzing thoughts. The author writes in their guidebook, the secret of the Nine of Swords is to recognize that thoughts by themselves have no power if you don't identify with them. See a thought for what it is, feel the thought, let it go. Just because drama unfolds in the mind, there's no need for it to bleed over into our waking life. That's probably why there's like this element of waking from sleep or disturbed sleep in the Nine of Swords, because it is that anxiety from one realm becoming alive in another realm.
Mm.
And in the Sacred She Tarot, the Nine of Air, keyword is fear. And the colors on this card are cold and icy and devoid of any warmth or inviting. There's just a face that is stricken, fearful, sad, afraid. And they have their hands over their face. If you're looking at a scary movie and you just kind of peek through your fingers and you're trying to like make the world look not as bad, peeking at it through your fingers, there's an element of that in this card. The eyebrows are like wavy wisps of like tendrils of air or smoke. When you look at that card and the big eyes of the character are looking at you, like I want to help this character, and it's reflecting back what we see in it. Is that sometimes the world can seem like it's just too much and we just can't look at it all at once. We have to look at it through our fingers.
Mm-hmm. For the Nine of Swords in the Mystic Mondays deck, we have a figure huddled, making herself small. There are 9 swords above her head, directly aimed at her head. So a little different than the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. These are more sort of threatening. In making ourselves small, we tunnel our vision and our perspective. We haven't talked about some of the symbols on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck in this card. And on the bed itself, there's sort of like a combat scene happening. This is Mars and Gemini, so I think that reminds us of Mars. And then the blanket that covers the figure, the quilt in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, has roses and the signs, the zodiac signs. And this is from ElliottOracle.com. It says, but even now there is hope. He just can't see it now because he is covering his eyes. Look at his quilt. Blankets are shields. They can comfort us and remind us that we are actually safe. His blanket is covered with roses. The roses symbolize that he is still vital and still has a wonderful life ahead of him, despite what the shadow tells him. His quilt is also covered with the signs of the zodiac, the star patterns of the universe. This symbolizes that he can free himself from fear if he remembers to view himself in the context of spirit. So there is kind of this idea with like the Nine of Swords, like just open your eyes, just kind of maybe even expand your perspective a little bit. And in the Light Seers deck, we have a figure who is in this sort of similar position of despair. She's covering her eyes. We can see her pillow and like her headboard, but her headboard is more like ethereal. And the setting is actually an open field rather than a bedroom. And again, just like the Eight of Swords, there are crows on this card in this deck. And here, I think the crows take on a slightly different meaning or symbolism. Crows can often represent spiritual protectors or guides, especially during times of uncertainty or challenge. So I think here they're protective. And again, there is this idea of if she would just open her eyes and look around, she would see that the nightmare is only in her mind and not in her surroundings, because her surroundings are actually this very calm, peaceful, beautiful, open field.
And going back to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the red roses also stand for the material world. That the comforter is also grounding. Red roses for physical and white for ethereal. Those were two of the. I don't remember what card we were doing when I when that
I think
when
the
that
magician.
that realization came to me. For the Ten of Swords, the Spirit Song has the Ten of Feathers. They've chosen the snake for recovery and transformation. A group of snakes is called a den, a nest, a pit, or a bed. But also, like a group of snakes, there was a lot of names for a group of snakes. A knot, a tangle, a slither. I think people are having a lot of fun naming that. But the snake, as a spirit animal, symbolizes profound transformation, healing, life force energy, often appearing during times of personal growth, change, spiritual awakening. And that's because the snake sheds its skin. It's like it loses a whole, it's like a little death almost. And it loses this whole imprint of itself. It's strong totem animal and spirit animal energy of rebirth, wisdom, and the ability to navigate life's transitions with renewed strength. Again, that's a great spirit animal or spirit energy to tap into if you are just struggling with this Ten of Swords in your reading or in your tarot journey. The Wild Unknown has the Ten of Swords, keywords ruin, rock bottom, and melodrama. The author has chosen a bull or a female cow. Females have horns too. I have to keep reminding, like Taurus. And in their guidebook, they don't mention the type of animal. But anyway, so 10 swords are piercing this animal, and one sword is going through its eyes. It is a very, again, this creates a lot of emotions for me, and it has the same echo of the Rider-Waite-Smith with the sword, like the character being completely overcome by the weight of the swords in its body, and the eyes, even the like the physical eyes being completely removed from the equation or from the senses. And then for the Secrets of the Witch's Garden, it's the Ten of Swords. Keyword is conclusion. And here we have a character, the witch, and this is again an echo of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but the echo is a different different echo bounced off the other wall of the canyon. And in this one, the figure is face up, eyes are closed, and the swords are piercing the front part of the witch's body. Along in the book, it talks about her sacral centers in her heart and in her solar plexus. And an interesting note in this, the witch is driving one of the swords into her own heart. This isn't about something that was done to you. It's something that you're doing to yourself. You are releasing. You are letting go. You are wanting this situation to come to an end, this conclusion. And the note here about her blood flowing out into the field that she's resting on, and her blood is bringing life to a red poppy. It's bringing new life into another chapter of energy and another chapter of life. And
That's
then
what
finally,
you just said, like there's still vitality.
Yeah.
You're still of the material world.
There's drops of, in my two cards, about just like the blood, the product of the conclusion feeding something that's coming next is sometimes a thread that can be seen in the Ten of Swords. And then it's also in the next one, the Sacred She Tarot. It's the 10 of Air. Keyword is grief. And here, again, it's the same color palette as the other one. It's all gray with just lack of warmth. It's lack of like any life in it almost. And the tears from the eye are coming into water, incidentally, a red poppy. Just like the secret of the witch's garden, the red poppy is there. The product of this grief, the product of this ending is feeding into something that's coming next.
In Mystic Monday's 10 of Swords, there's a blood red sun hanging in the sky, and it mirrors the blood on the ground from the 10 swords stabbed into our figure. And the notable difference here from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is there's a sword stabbed through her hand. So that feels kind of extra painful to me for some reason. Then we have the Light Seers deck. And this art is so different. We have a figure standing on like a beach or a sand dune. She's looking out towards the horizon. And metaphorically, what comes next? The sun in this card feels different from Mystic Mondays. It feels more bright and hopeful rather than kind of like bloody red. And to kind of finish the story with the crows throughout this deck, crows can also convey adaptability and resilience. And this is from the interwebs. I think just like Gemini gave this to me. Because crows thrive in diverse environments, they teach us to be resourceful and resilient in challenging times. So this is a very different vibe because there's not brutal pain, grief. It's very kind of uplifting and hopeful. And an idea that I came across in my book, 36 Secrets, you know, literally in the tarot, what comes next? And Cancer 1 follows Gemini 3, and Cancer 1 is the Two of Cups. The transition from Gemini 3, or the 10 of Swords, to Cancer 1, the Two of Cups, could be thought of as one of going from mental fragmentation to heart coherence as we allow our mental stories to collapse.
And the Two of Cups, in my opinion, is that partnership card that is an emotional partnership card, more so than like the lover card on its own. Do you know what I mean? If people are talking about what's the card that is giving me the vibes of I'm finding that person, or that person's right for me, or whatever it might be, I think the Two of Cups might, in my opinion, is a stronger energy flowing together, emotions mixing more than Gemini. But so it's the 10 of Swords to the Two of Cups. Ooh, that's a transition. That's a U-turn right there. But then again, you said this in the Lover podcast that a lot of times we aren't necessarily ready to begin sharing ourself with another person until we have come to grips with who we are and what we actually want.
Gemini is linked to the nervous system. So we're going to get to a collection of words here. And I mention it kind of throughout for these three cards, but there is this idea of like healing our thought patterns and our nervous system patterns so that we can come into partnership with somebody else and it be successful and have heart coherence rather than mental fragmentation and nervous
Yes.
system activation
Yes.
running the
Yes.
show,
Yes.
running the relationship.
Because a lot of those swords in the 8, 9, and 10 of swords are expectations that
Mm-hmm.
you have that are
Mm-hmm.
not reality.
Mm-hmm.
And at the root of all suffering, expectations.
Yes. So, a collection of words for the Eight of Swords: restriction, constraint, feeling trapped, stuck, bound, inhibited, perceived and compelling helplessness, mental paralysis or indecision, frustration, rumination, feeling unable to communicate. And because this is the air element, we could think about what self imposed mental narratives or talk tracks are binding and trapping you. What is interfering with your decision making, as this is the Lord of Interference. For the Nine of Swords, anxieties, intense worrying, overwhelm, fears, nightmares, nervous system activation, self loathing, misery, sorrow, hopelessness, obsessive and relentless thinking that causes suffering, mental agony, illusions that are magnified in the darkness. And again, because this is air element, what thoughts are keeping you up at night, whether that's literally or metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
For the 10, painful endings, a devastating loss, a harsh realization, rock bottom, the fearful mind exhausting itself, a mental reset, allowing the collapse and choosing to look at the light. This is the sun in Gemini. Breaking a cycle, and the light seers suggests naming what's new. And again, this card is that transition from Gemini 3 to Cancer 1. And I just thought this was funny. But this card can sometimes be associated with or read as like an acupuncture card, which is kind of comical, you know?
I like that. Comical and
In
literal.
yeah, right? So in reverse, the Eight of Swords is about taking responsibility and choosing our responses or releasing.
The Secrets of the Witch's Garden has the question to write the reversal here. How do I save myself?
In reverse, the Nine of Swords is about healing or finding peace through mindfulness practices, meditation, maybe yoga nidra. And Christina mentioned this earlier about getting out of your mind and into your body. So the earth element is the opposite of the air element. So sometimes what our nervous system needs is not more like mind-based practices like meditation or mindfulness, but maybe a physical or a somatic practice that gets you into your body and out of your mind. The idea being that the body often resolves what the mind cannot.
Mm-hmm. One of my yoga teachers says, it's it's hard to change your mind with your mind. It's easier to change your mind with your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's another way. And the question to ask yourself to write the reversal is, how can I shift my perspective?
You sometimes hear in recovery circles, move a muscle, change a thought. That's another one.
Yeah.
And in reverse, 10 of Swords could convey sudden clarity, letting go of what no longer is serving you. From the Mystic Mondays guidebook, she says, take inventory of thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes and clearly label the ones you want to keep and the ones you want to throw away.
Mm-hmm. And the question to write the reversal here, how do I end this kindly? Are you ready for the message from the universe?
Yes.
I've got this Secrets of the Witch's Garden 3 cards, but you're picking between 1 and 2, and the third card is for everybody. So 1 or 2. Card 1 is the 6 of Pentacles, generosity. A witch sits on the roots of a grandmother willow. She holds a scale brimming with gifts for all. Her scales are equal. She passes no judgment, nor does she assign value to what she dispenses. All of nature is attracted to her gifts, as deer, squirrels, and birds descend on this daughter of Gaia. This card marks moments of giving and receiving. The secret of this card is not to measure generosity. It is the ability to accept as well as offer. The 2 sides of the same pentacle are equal. Gifts that are not given freely are not gifts at all, but ego, weights, and measurements. Remember that you are the gift the world has been searching for. Card 2 is the Knight of Wands, keyword protector. The Knight of Wands is an endorphin rush, an explosive personality who uses passion's ignition to light their way. Ripples of desire course through their veins. The knight's energy is matched by their steed, whose ember eyes glow like fiery coals. If the Page of Wands was the spark, the knight is the combustion of fire. The Knight of Wands represents the captivation of romantic attraction. It is stopping at nothing to win the heart's desire. Emotions may be exhausting, but if you are successful, it will all be worth it. What is the quest you find yourself on? What is the prize you are searching for? The knight asks you who or what will satisfy your hungry soul. Okay, and then the Empress.
Ooh.
For everyone, and this is creativity, keyword. Golden morning light illuminates your room as dawn breaks. You wake to discover a pot of tea, toast, and raspberry jam have been set out for you. You wipe the last crumb from your chin and set out for a walk, feeling wide awake and inspired. It is a perfect day to explore the wildflower fields beyond the garden. You follow the sloping path with a neat rock wall meandering alongside it. A peaceful willow tree rises in the distance, and you turn into a rippling wheat field to make your way towards it. You recall how grain, bounty, and harvest are sacred to the Greek goddess Demeter, as a figure stops you in your tracks. You blink twice to be sure this stunning vision of a woman is not a figment of the imagination. "Hello," she says. "I am the Empress." The Empress's regal, all-seeing eyes embrace you as they do all creatures. She is the archetypal mother who gives literal and metaphorical birth to all things in the universe. The 12 dazzling stars on her crown mark each of the zodiac. The mark of Venus, planet of beauty, love, and pleasure, decorates her pillow. A golden pomegranate wand reflects fertility, as does the soft, round baby bump she protects beneath the folds of her cherry red gown. Her sickle marks agricultural bounty and the change of the seasons. Her book is gathered knowledge of heaven and earth, the secrets of the manifest world, and all feminine aspects. Her magical secret is imagination. The Empress appears as an explosion of the creative impulse. The Empress marks desire, style, and sensuality. She reflects expressive gestures, innovative action, and boundless developing energy. She reflects an individual's ability to give form and shape to what sprouts in the mind's eye and nurture it into existence.
Thank you, universe.
Yes. Thank you, universe.
We are back next week with more Gemini, the Court of Swords.
Woo. A court episode.
So until then, listeners, thank you. We love you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. The Radical Podcast is created and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Music by Van Horten. His Instagram is Van Horton Music. Stay in touch with us at linktr.ee/theradicalpodnc.